Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. This is your host, Steve Larosiliere, and I'm excited to introduce a new co-host and eventual host. It is Jennifer Alger from Far West Forestry, AncesTREE, Urban Salvage, Wood Reclaimed. What other many many hustles you have?
Thing.
Many hustles you have in the wood industry. So, if you listen and been a long devotee of the podcast, you probably heard Jennifer about 3 times over the past 9 years. The podcast has been out, which is really, really wild. So I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm not giving up on the Woodpreneur podcast, but I'm starting a new podcast I could tell you more about. But one of the things that I felt has happened was I feel like the podcast might have lost its focus. I started interviewing other people outside, like up the value chain, and I wanted to bring on somebody who's like in the trenches every day, dealing with manufacturing lumber, sawmills, producing lumber, and is like very, very devoted to this space of like repurposing trees and giving them new life. And so welcome, Jennifer. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Nice to connect again, Steve.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've been doing a couple podcasts together. So you'll hear some podcasts in which Jennifer and I are on, and then eventually she'll be taking over. So I gotta ask, like when I had told you about potentially being a host of the podcast, like what did you think?
Well, I thought this guy's crazy. But I mean, I've known you for a long time, so I think I already knew that. And I'm like, I'm not a podcaster. I work with sawmill people. I use sawmills. I work with wood. I don't podcast. Gosh, that was probably 9 months ago that we started having that conversation, right?
Yeah.
And one day it just felt right. It felt right.
That's really, really cool. I mean, thanks for sticking with us and with me. And, I think it's interesting. So Jennifer was like one of the first people that when I started in this industry, that Jennifer was one of the first people that I would say gave me a chance, right? Like I was an outsider in the industry, and Jennifer hired me to lead a training at was it in Sacramento? No, it was in Portland, right? No, was it at your place, Sacramento, and then we went to Portland.
Yeah, we did one in Sacramento. We did one in Woodland. I think Woodland might have even been first.
Yeah.
And then we did one at our old facility at our mill site. Yeah, that actually might have been first because you walked in and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Jennifer," and I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
You were a customer.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely at our mill site in Sheridan.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was so many conferences.
That was a lot. Yeah. And so anyway, Jennifer is like, she's the real deal. Like she is somebody that she was born and raised in the wood industry, and is a leader, and you've been at this for a while, like advocating and collaborating and building community and providing for other people. For me, it's like a real pleasure to be able to like hand it off to you so that you can continue to carry the torch. And so from the few interviews that we've done together, like, I don't know, what are you excited about? Like, what are you excited to bring to the podcast?
The first few, and honestly, I was like, well, let's do a little test run here. Let's see how, if this really feels right. But, I stop and think about some of the things that are my favorite things to do in my day-to-day job. And some of those are connecting with people and sharing insight, getting their insight, understanding where they're coming from, and then sharing my experiences back. And I'm like, that's what a podcast is. That's what we've done. And just getting to know some of these people on that deeper level, it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
There's something that complements like woodworking and sawmills and audio, right? So that you have the audio while you're on the mill or while you're making. And so I've had many, many people tell me throughout the years that like, oh yeah, I've listened to like all of your podcasts. Like one guy, like he's listened like once or twice, like the whole entire thing. Like, and for me, it's to be able to be in other people's ears and to get their attention. And so one of the things that I'm excited about is just building community more so that, because as the older generation sort of retires, dies off, what have you, there's all these traditions and how business is done and stories that like really they don't get told. And I really want to be able to share what works. And for you being on the front line, like really, oh my God. Before we get into that, could you just tell everybody everything that you have going on right now?
Everything I have going on right now. Well, growing up in the forestry world, now managing family business, Far West Forest Products. So I'm CEO of that. And at Far West Forest Products, I felt super compelled to help other people who may be smaller producers, maybe they're the same size producers, but just really aggregate urban wood products. I'm a huge advocate for not wasting our natural resources. And so I founded Urban Salvage and Reclaimed Woods Inc. and directing that to create standards for urban woods so that we can compete as, grouping all together. And I'm on the board of directors for the Urban Wood Network and had a lot of issues in my own company in Far West Forest Products with inventory management and how to reach more customers, which the marketing and tips that I get from Steve have been absolutely astounding, fantastic, but we needed to solve that. And so I founded an inventory management software. I founded it, built it to solve our company's problems, and that's AncesTREE. And AncesTREE is implemented. We're using it in our business and we're sharing it with the rest of the world.
So you got a couple of things going on.
I got, one or two. Yeah. Nothing major. Nothing major.
I think there's a reason why we're friends and doing business together, because I'm very much the same way. And so, and now you can add podcaster to your list of, many things.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can.
Now,
Wow.
you're a podcaster, you're a thought leader. So, the interesting thing that I think about, and I'll tell you everybody like what I'm doing. So, and I haven't shared this in a while. Like I haven't done like a solo episode like this before in a long time. But, my business has changed. Like many of you guys know that I mentor and I coach people, and I've had some success in helping people. But one of the things that has really, really many of your listeners have like gone through my programs or what have you. So one of the things that I've gotten interested in lately was what happens after lumber is made. Like what happens, like how do we interact and sell it more at length and at scale? And so I've started chasing down, and this kind of came out if you followed the podcast for long, is that like I started interviewing a lot of contractors, designers, architects, design build people, cabinet makers, because that was like where my interest was. And I started to go there. And so I started working with more people like, as like an agency owner and a client, I started working with them more. And then last year I started my own design build firm. And it was really because I was curious about that space. And I wanted to see so I do custom furniture, I do mudrooms and built-ins, and I'm using material from, where possible, I'm using locally sourced material. And so as I started going down that path, Jennifer, oh my God, it was like you've interacted with designers and architects. It's like a whole other conversation. It's different people. Like, they don't have dust on their clothes. It's a very different space. And for me, I knew so much about the material that I felt more knowledgeable going into that space, and I felt like I can add value there. One of the reasons why I'm like stopping, the host of this podcast is because I'm going to start a new podcast called Designers and Builders, so that I can essentially, and if you're really paying attention, this is like a timeout, like in-game kind of thing. It's like I have Jennifer working on, building the lumber and sawmill side and the lumber manufacturing side of things. And I'm going to be focusing on the architects and designers and builders, so that as you, grow your businesses and you start working with us and you have, inventory, we now have a place for all of that, all of your lumber material to go through. And I have to say, Jennifer, I don't think there's anybody out there in the urban lumber industry that's like openly talking about how we can collaborate. Like all other options that are out there, they're trying to like keep and hoard for themselves. And we are like building tools and communities so that other people can eat, because it's not enough. The demand is so high and the supply is, the demand is so low, but the supply is so high. There's no way for us to supply all of the designers, architects, builders with any. So like we actually need to come together at this moment. What do you think?
Yeah. And if you listen back into my previous podcasts or the ones that I've done with you, you'll hear that coming through, that competitive collaboration and really coming together to work together to achieve our goals. It's next level. And that's how we really, really start to, as smaller businesses, really make a dent on the grand industry at large.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very excited by this. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Like, as we all know, all things are not. One thing that I do want to say is that one of the commercials that you're going to be hearing is AncesTREE. And so I feel like, when I first started in this space, I said, whatever the number one problem is, I'm going to work to solve that. But I found like the number one problem was marketing and advertising. The number two problem back then, and this was like back in 2016, was inventory management. And so Jennifer is solving that now. And I feel like the market is like, how many of you have stacks of lumber that are out there that is not being sold? And so can you tell everybody, Jennifer, about AncesTREE and what you guys are doing?
Well, what we did, as I mentioned earlier, is we took a problem that we had in our own business, and I'm not one to sit around and go, oh man, I hate this. I'm one to go, how can I fix this? How can I make this better? And so we developed AncesTREE to take the chaos that was our business and bring it into control. Today, I can run a report and know how much white oak I have. Is it in log form? Is it in lumber form? Is it a fireplace mantle? What is it? Where is it in the drying process? And once all of that's in there, and we're photographing it as we go along. We're photographing it when it's wet, when it looks its best, and we're keeping that in there. We're following that chain of custody. We're notating whether it's dry, whether it's kiln dried, sterilized, air drying, whatever the thing is, we're noting it. If it's got a really cool backstory, we're putting that in there too, all in an app, all at our fingertips, all super easy to use. Even my dad, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you see my dad, he's using this app. And the really cool part is, not only now do I know what I have, now we're connecting to an urban wood marketplace. We're actually going to be opening that up to all types of woods eventually, but right now it's primarily urban lumber marketplace, where my products are being seen and able to be purchased around the nation, but not just mine. All the other people, all the other small businesses, all those other hustlers out there are able to put their products on that as well. And in an aggregated Amazon style, can I say that on here? Shopping experience, able to sell their products too. And that's a huge win. And then just helping all these other businesses solve their pain point, with their storage locations and with all the different things that you don't realize how all encompassing an inventory.
Yeah, guys, this is a game changer. It really is.
It does so many.
It's going to allow you to sell more lumber, and like the reason you like milling, you like opening up logs, you may or may not like stacking or stickering, but you do like the idea of making money from your hard work. And so this is a path, and we're building a community. I'll go to woodpreneurnetwork.com, sign up. It's free there. Jennifer's, going to be more integrated in everything that we do on the sawmill and lumber side, and AncesTREE is a partner. And I'm really, really excited. I'm super excited by this. I mean, yeah, beyond over the moon excited. And the other thing too is like the other thing that we have been doing more of is like we've been testing a lot of AI technology development in our business. And so again, listen, if the big tech companies out there and big businesses are collaborating, there's no way that we should not be collaborating too on us on a local level. Like we may do the similar things, but we all have our we have our flair. We just, and especially now the mandate is America first and American made products. And what's more American than our trees? Let's capitalize off of this energy right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to do everything on our end to just raise awareness, because listen, Jennifer and I, we're going to keep doing it, and we want to do it with people that have the same mindset and the same growth mindset that we have, right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah. And the more people we can help along the way, the happier I am.
For
I
sure.
think the happier you are.
Anything else before we hop off? Absolutely. Yeah.
Nope.
So anyway,
I'm excited. Let's do this.
The schedule isn't changing. It's going to still be Thursdays, and like a couple of episodes will be me and Jennifer, and then Jennifer's going to take over, and you can expect every Thursday with her in the future. And then I will let you know if you're interested in hearing what designers and architects and builders, what they're looking for, so that you can just kind of get insight on them. Just look for that. That will launch in March of 2025. So super excited. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm excited to continue to grow with you.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. The same. See you soon.